Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Trelawney wanted man turned self-in, charged. One of 9 men who were listed as wanted by lawmen in Trelawney last week turned himself into the police on Monday. He is 64-year-old Junetic Chess Clark, a laborer from Buckner's Hill in the parish, who was wanted for a stabbing incident that occurred almost 2 years ago. Head of the Trelawney Police Division, Superintendent Carlos Ross, reported that Clark made contact with the police and subsequently handed himself over. He has since been charged with wounding with intent. Inspector Russell said he will appear in court next Wednesday. The incident for which Clark is charged occurred in the Friendship District, Trelawney, on April 24, 2020. It is reported that about 3:30 a.m., Clark and a woman, with whom he shared an intimate relationship, got into an altercation after he accused her of still being involved with her ex-husband. During the altercation, a knife was used to stab the woman in her left shoulder, causing a wound that bled. She was subsequently taken to hospital, where she was admitted for several days. Following police investigations, a warrant was issued for Clark, but he was never found. Russell encouraged the other wanted men in the following Clark's example and also turned themselves in. The other 8 men still at large are Junior Big Shot Bennett, who is wanted for murder of farmer Gracia Williams, 41. Williams was killed on her farm in Greentown on January 31, 2022. Twins, Stanford and Eric Morrison, wanted for murder that occurred in Bounty Hall in 2018. They are also facing 2 counts of wounding with intent. They are known to frequent the Wakefield community. Brian Samuels, wanted for October 2021 killing of former Leroy Graham, 57. Graham was beaten to death at a bar in Lorimere's. Lascelles Wright, from Warsop, wanted for murder committed in Low River in 2019. Tawayne T.Y. Ellis, from Low River, wanted for shooting with intent following an incident on March 8, 2021 in that community. Colin McFarlane and Kristen Davis are wanted for wounding with intent. Security Minister, Senator clash over gun permits for 12 years old. There was an intense exchange on Wednesday's sitting of a joint selected committee of Parliament as Government Senator Shireen Golden Campbell supported a proposal for the Firearm Licensing Authority (FLA) to issue gun permits to minors for specific activities. The committee, which is reviewing the Firearms Prohibition, Restriction and Regulation Act 2022, was examining a submission from the Jamaica Rifle Association. The association has proposed to lower from 16 to 12 years the age limit for someone being granted permit to legally use a firearm. On the actual authorization, dependent on the activity, discipline or firearm, the association wants the lower limit to be established in policy as follows: air guns age 12, shotguns 20 cartridge age 12, shotguns 12 gauge age 14, 22 LR rifle age 14, pistols and rifles age 16. The association argued that at the international level, like the Olympics, competitors in shooting sports are very advanced at the age of 16, while Jamaican competitors are still at the beginner stage. Additionally, it argued that the current authorization limits used to only shotguns and air rifles. Minors of age 12 do participate internationally using 22 LR caliber rifles, air pistols, and handguns. A minor being a member of the Jamaica Combined Cadet Force could be exposed to using 22 LR rifles below the age of 16, it argues. At this point, Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang, who chairs the committee, suggested that the matter be thoroughly reviewed but insisted he would not entertain the idea of a minor being allowed to use the 22 LR rifle. Golden Campbell, who is an attorney at law, agreed, declaring that her sons were involved in recreation and the cadet. She also maintained that gun licenses are now issued to minors. Can someone help me to understand what is the current policy position under the law? Because the Firearms Licensing Authority is issuing license to 12 years old, she said. But Chang insisted that firearm licenses are not issued to anyone under the age of 21. If it is so, something went wrong somewhere in the system, he said. Railway vendors protest plan to turn markets into car park. Vendors at the gutted railway market in downtown Kingston are protesting plans to relocate sellers and transform the airspace into a car park and taxi bay. The proposed overhaul was sparked by a multi-million-dollar fire on February 22nd, one of many that have haunted the market district in the nation's capital. Kingston Mayor Delroy Williams has described railway grounds as fragile and not a bona fide market. Williams said that the conversion of the space into transportation zone was logistically prudent and would ease congestion and cramped roads in the heart of the city. The use of flammable materials within the market space that easily spread fires is something we have to cut out too. The vendors often use all these pallets and boards, so going forward, persons will have to use the structures that are provided, Williams said when asked questions in an interview on Tuesday. But a vendor who gave his name as Robert, who have been selling clothes and textiles for the location for 3 decades, invoked a sense of betrayal at the imminent move. According to him, vendors were facilitated at the site by late Prime Minister Edward Seaga, who was Member of Parliament MP for Kingston Western for more than 40 years. Robert said that Seaga had recognized the need for poor higglers to establish a livelihood to support their families. Desmond should have built on Seaga's legacy and not try to destroy it, he said, referring to Desmond Mackenzie, the current MP and Seaga mentee. This our bread and butter. How them fi get way off? A long time we are working so. Them can't just come get way off so. Them a plan, but we a plan too. Because we nah move, he declared. Vendors like Robert depend heavily on market retail for subsistence, fueling their livelihoods, including the funding of education of their children and grandchildren. Their anger had not receded, even with pledges that the sellers will be accommodated at the Oxford market. The market has been a battleground for rival gangs who for decades has jostled for ascendancy in an extortion racket and also makes victims of wholesales, shops and transport operators. Arsonists are suspected to be behind the railway fire, and the police have identified a man known as Pepper as a person of interest. The mayor acknowledged the need to enhance surveillance of markets to boost security and said that the installation of fire hydrants and sprinklers in vending spaces was in short term unaffordable and unviable. It could be difficult and it could be costly, but this is something that we are looking at, and that would form part of the total overhaul of protecting the market from further fires. Repurposing the railway ground into a car park is also part of the measures because it would allow us to better manage the marketplace. We are also going to fence it, adding to the security, Williams said. Andrea Pinnock, who has been operating in this space for more than 20 years, said she will join with others and resist the relocation plan. We prepare to go up to Parliament and protest if we have to, but we nah left so. Them a talk about gang a fight for turf, nothing no go so. We know gang war, and that nah happen so. Somebody a sabotage we get we out, she said. Pinnock said each time fire destroyed the stalls, rebuilding costs top $30,000 for every vendor. Maxine Brown, who has been selling there for 20 years, said they are united and will not give up this space without a fight. She said the Prime Minister needs to get involved. Business cousin Azan, who has several investments in downtown Kingston, said he doesn't see how the conversion of the railway market into a park and taxi bay would solve the traffic woes dug in the commercial district. For one, the space is too small, unless they are planning on building a multi-layer car park, as reported, adding that many announced plans over decades had not been realized. Expert status refused for police witness. The prosecution in the Klansman Wandon gang trial failed on Tuesday in their effort to have a retired gang investigator give evidence as an expert witness. The police inspector, a 31-year-old veteran who has mainly investigated the St. Catherine-based Klansman and Wandon gang, is being called by the prosecution to formally identify defendant Jason Brown as an alleged gang member. The court heard that the inspector had communicated with Brown and had arrested him in another matter. two former members of the gang, the prosecution's two star witnesses, were unable to properly identify the defendant. Both testified that they only knew the defendant by his alias, had never seen him, and had only spoken to him over the phone. However, on Tuesday's voir dire at preliminary examination, an oath of a proposed witness by the judge and objection from the defense, Chief Justice, ruled that the inspector would not be accepted as an expert witness, but will be allowed to give evidence as a police witness based on the evidence presented in his statements. The Chief Justice said that based on the guidance provided by the Privy Council and the Court of Appeal for Bermuda, and police officer who is being called as an expert witness must be treated in a special way. That includes advanced explanation and disclosure to the defense of assertions or conclusions that are going to be advanced. The judge also indicated that an expert witness must set out his distinctive qualifications, training and experience, and clearly state the basis of his conclusions. The Chief Justice added that an expert witness should offer disclosures beyond general information that are distinguishable from factual evidence. The prosecution conceded that the retired inspector's statement did not meet those benchmarked and that the submission was a standard witness statement about his interaction with some alleged gangsters he had arrested. Prior to the judge's decision, 7 defense attorneys argued against the gang investigator being accepted as an expert witness. Among their main grounds was that he was more of a gang investigator and not a gang expert and would not provide an independent view. He is not an unbiased and objective expert. He has a dog in this fight. He is really seeking a conviction, said attorney at law Lloyd McFarlane, who is representing reputed leader Andre Blackman Bryan. Another defense attorney, Akuna Noble, who is representing defendant Dwight Hall, said that while the witness had done 37 days of specialized gang training, there was no qualification submitted that validated his status as an expert witness. The inspector, who was adamant that he was certified as a gang witness in 2018, countered that he had never seen any other expert, ballistic or forensics, providing proof of their qualifications in court. Meanwhile, earlier in the hearing, the inspector told the court that based on his training, gangs were classified at first, second, or third generation organizations. Those designations were informed by levels of international spread, sophistication, and political influence. The inspector, who disclosed that he had reviewed more than 100 gang cases and over 1,000 related statements, said that the first-generation gangs are loosely organized, lack hierarchical structure, and usually commit minor crimes in their surface of influence. Second-generation gang experts influence on the government or politicians and have members who will seek to legitimize their illegal operations. Third-generation gangs, he said, usually have persons in positions of power and authority who dictate to politicians and have national influence. According to him, the Klansman gang, based on its organized hierarchical structure and sophistication, was a hybrid of second and third generations factor. Bryan and 32 alleged gang members are being tried on indictment with 25 counts under the Criminal Justice Suppress of Criminal Organizations Act and the Firearms Act. The Wandan gang is a breakaway faction from the Klansman gang. The inspector is expected to take the stand tomorrow. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.